Pasito tum tum, pasito tum tum, pasito tum tum, pasito tum tum.
Hello, this is your WIllie. Welcome to a classic modern review. This is a special occasion since technically this is my 58th review that I've done so far. Let's celebrate! Okay, now celebration, damn it. Balls to the walls, I've been saving this movie for a while now, and I think it's time to talk about it. Drum rolls, this is a classic big one, known as Casablanca. Little did the actors and production knew they were making something special when it was released, but little did they guess not only would Casablanca grab gold in the Oscars, but also become a cinematic household name through time for what many say is one of the greatest movies of all time and never looked back. Today, you look at any list of best movies, you'll find Casablanca either in the top 10 or top 3. But my question is, after all this time, is it still a great movie? And why? What makes this movie great? What makes other recent movies like, let's say, Inception or Winter Soldier to be labeled as good, but they don't match up to the greatness of Casablanca? How come people that did not grow up with this movie view it as the Big Johnson, the la creme de la creme? This is as good as you'll ever get. Well, I could only find 3 simple reasons to why this movie has still lived up for such a long time. Also, this might have spoiler alerts. One of the first reasons is time. Much of a movie's success has not only to do with the story, the acting, the writing, but the right time that comes out when concerning a trending topic of the moment. Let's say if a movie today came out about any trending topic such as terrorism or immigration, if the acting and story is good and has an accurate portrayal, it'll probably stay for a while longer. To Kill a Mockingbird about a white lawyer defending a black man came at the right time in the 60s during the civil rights movement. Because it was a significant time in America, now this movie is celebrated to remind people of how important it was that time period in history. I beg to differ with that movie. But then you have Oscar-winning Crash from 2006 about the prejudice of all kinds of races that came at the wrong time. Not because the plot is very inaccurate, but because outside of Muslims, prejudice wasn't given much attention in that decade, therefore leaving no impact and becoming unmemorable. So, how did time make Casablanca work? Well, during the 40s, Nazi Germany was occupying most of Europe in World War II. Several Jewish actors and directors were banned from working in Germany when Nazis took over their cinema as a propaganda strategy. That led them to immigrate to Hollywood, where many joined the cause to promote anti-Nazi movies. Through the 40s, it would be known as the golden era of propaganda and the golden era of cinema, with Hollywood and Germany competing against each other to bring the best cinematic entertainment and promote how much they hated each other. But by far the most popular one that came out in those days, it was definitely Casablanca. Not just for the love story, but because it was one of the first foreign movies to acknowledge other foreign issues in the world, such as the war. It's about a former patriot named Rick, played by Humphrey Bogart, the owner of a nightclub in Casablanca where political refugees hide from the Nazis who occupied most of Europe. Until one night his past lover Ilsa, played by Ingrid Bergman, returns to seek help from Rick to send her and her husband, a resistance leader, to America where he will start a resistance of his own against the Nazis. But for Rick, it's a struggle to once again lose the woman he loves for a greater cause much bigger than him. So to sum it up in one sentence, Casablanca was meant to be a middle finger to Nazis and Hitler! And it was even more since most of the actors in the movie were Jewish immigrants. That brings me to my simple but second reason, the story. And I can't talk about the story without first mentioning the characters. These have got to be some of the most colorful characters in a classic movie. You have the loyal friend, your comedy relief, the weasel, the classic mustache villain, the brave hero, the damsel in romance, and, who cannot forget, Humphrey Bogart as the cynical yet likable Rick, The man who made classiness look so cool. On top of him being the most popular actor in the 40s, his character broke the mold of what a hero should be. Instead of the brave, heroic, good guy, seemed more like a rebel at times. He's cynical to others, but doesn't come out as dislikable since he held a level of classiness to it. He's sarcastic, but deep down has a soft spot that could be hurt pretty easily. What made him interesting was how neutral he was, feeling no concern which side of the war won or lost as long as it didn't affect him, making him a character that many could be attracted to. The guy who doesn't belong in any particular group only sits down and watches how both extreme sides fight to the nail against each other. You know what? I would have loved to see a fantasy duel with him against James Bond. On top of the actors, this is a multi-genre movies put in one and not being convoluted. It can be thrilling, comical, dramatic, mysterious, about the war, a musical, and romance, and that's when the story takes place. Instead of the focus being on the brave hero that will fight against the bad guys, the main focus of this story is him, who had a short but romantic affair with Elsa in Paris. But one night she leaves him to return to his heroic lover, only for a few years later to meet Rick once again, who feels resentment for what she did to him but still feels something for her. Now she needs his help that could shape the world for the better by defeating the Nazis, but he doesn't want to lose her again, while she's conflicted on whether to leave her husband or stay with Rick, and for a love triangle? It's very good. Even though most of the production and actors thought this was a terrible story, many such as the AFI view it as one of the best romance stories of all time, and I can see why. Their moments together are genuine, and their chemistry is very believable, thanks to the great dialogue and music that helps. Now, I know it might look very melodramatic at times in a laughable way, and the special effects don't look as good anymore, but you still get sucked into the drama for how dangerous the situation is. They realize what they felt in Paris and Casablanca was real, but they understand they can't be together because of the war and what's in stake. So for the main lead actor to not get the girl in the end was very new at that time. Now, it wasn't the first time that happened, but back then it was something unheard of. Yet in some aspects, it made their relationship more romantic, sacrificing their love for a cause bigger than them, but still ending in a satisfying farewell, granting each other admiration and respect for one another. On the other hand, if you look through its romantic plot, it still has an agenda to promote anti-Nazism by using the romance to manipulate the audience with. This was nothing new for the Germans since they themselves have used this technique before. Now, I am for exposing the Nazis for what they really were. It's just ironic that Hollywood would use this kind of method against them. It's not preachy, but it does patronize itself and other countries that were affected by the Nazis at that time, such as France when they're singing the national anthem as loud as they can at the nightclub until they can hear the Germans sing no more. It was a nice gesture from a foreign nation to another saying that they're not alone. Today, that scene looks kinda forced with its patriotism, but back then, it was a powerful scene representing how foreign nations could support one another in a time of trouble and have each other's backs despite being from different backgrounds. And finally, the third reason why Casablanca has still lived on for such a long time is mostly out of respect. This movie is appreciated for being part of an important era when movies were evolving to a more modern work. In every show business, people will always go back to when it became popular or revolutionary. When you look at boxing and ask people what were the best golden days of boxing, many will look back at the days of Muhammad Ali with respect for bringing attention to the sport. Same goes to music. You might have some bands that did something new in the 60s and 70s, but it always goes back to Elvis Presley for inspiring and revolutionizing the music industry. And that's why Casablanca, along with other classic films, have still lived on for their social commentary on issues that today hold up even stronger. It reminds us not only of how important that decade was in history, but how cinema was revolutionized on how to deal with foreign issues and breaking the mold of what many expected the story and characters to be, inspiring a new generation of actors and filmmakers, leading all the way to this new generation. So, is Casablanca a great movie? For history, yes. For me, it's good. Now what's interesting is, whenever I go back and take a look at it again, I still think about this movie the following day. So that means it must be doing something good, right? So, whether you think it's a great movie or not, or might even bore you, it does leave an impact. It has memorable scenes, it has memorable characters, and it has memorable quotes. The cinematography looks gorgeous, showing how Casablanca was and is a symbol of refuge from the dangers and corruption of the world. It's a movie that's perfect the way it is. It doesn't need anything to be added or upgraded. The black and white is perfect on giving it a classy elegance to it, as well as narrating how the story can be joyful when it's bright and upbeat, but also show how dark and sad it can be. So whenever you put color into it, that spark fades away. That looks freaking disgusting! Looks something out of the Looney Tunes. Less color, please! Now that's better. As a solo movie, it's good. At its historical context, it's enriching. Now, it's fine if for some of you this movie didn't appeal you, but if you're a student or a fan of films and appreciate its art and history, then Casablanca is a definite recommendation to check it out. All I got left to say is
looking at you, kid.
I give this movie an 8.9 out of 10 stars. What are your thoughts on the movie? Did you like it? Did you not like it? I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. You can leave your comment down below, like, subscribe, and what would be some movies you would like me to review later? Well guys, tune in next time because I'll be reviewing Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So for now, that's it for today. Ciao.